Former news anchor Gretchen Carlson has been excelling since childhood. From a young violin prodigy to being crowned Miss America, to becoming a nationally recognized face on Fox News.
He looks at me for that.
But from the very inception of her TV career, she was faced with one traumatizing encounter after another. So what compelled this brilliant and accomplished woman to fight back by launching a historic legal battle against one of the most powerful men in media, turning her into a symbol of progress for millions of women?
Sexual harassment is not about sex. It's about power and about what somebody does to you to try and take away your power.
And what gave her the courage to turn this potentially career-ending event into her moment to break big? What makes people successful? What are the unexpected turns in life that propel people to greatness? I'm Carlos Watson, editor of OZY. I'm out to uncover the real secrets behind breaking big.
Funding for Breaking Big provided in part by the Ford Foundation, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to this PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Please help me welcome our 2018 Champion of Change, Gretchen Carlson.
I am Gretchen Carlson. I'm a mom. I'm a journalist. I'm a philanthropist. I'm a former Miss America. And like millions of other American women, I'm a survivor of sexual assault and sexual harassment. I'd been fired after a 25-year career in journalism, a career that I had worked so damn hard to achieve. There was no Me Too movement then. No Time's Up pin. There was just me taking on one of the most powerful people in the world and jumping off that cliff all alone. Or so I thought.
You know, it's so interesting, Gretchen. I think about people who've taken bold moves, and I really do believe in family and friend affirmation.
Mm-hmm. Courage is a building process. It's not something that you just come up with overnight. It really goes back to the way in which I was raised. And my parents believing in me and saying, you can do this no matter what.
First of all, she was very capable, talented, and completely driven, even then.
She loved sports. In fact, she played softball. It was right when she was starting the violin.
I excelled in school and I excelled in music. And it was so important as a young girl to hear my parents tell me, you can be anything you want to be.
She was blessed with this unbelievable musical talent. And I actually believe that when God gives you brains or talent, it's your responsibility to do something with it. So she practiced and practiced on the violin. She played all over the country, even with the Minnesota Orchestra when she was in 7th grade. She told me once she can still remember all the concertos in her head. I didn't know how she remembered them at the time. But in the meantime, she was a very good student.
She graduated first in her class.
After high school, Gretchen went on to Stanford University and spent a summer abroad at Oxford. And while there, her parents planted a seed that would alter her life forever.
In college, she still spent 3 hours a day practicing the violin, but she liked academics and she liked to be in plays. There's not all that time in one day, you know.
She was going to quit the violin.
When I gave up the violin, my parents were devastated, and they wanted to find another way for me to use that talent. And my mom literally got a brochure in the mail, and she called me. I was studying at Oxford at the time. She's like, I found something for you to try. And I was like, what?
Karen said, I see there's a pageant coming up and there's talent involved in it. So it gave us a chance to have her extend her playing a little bit longer. So it was kind of a sneaky way to do it probably, but.
Miss America. I'm like, Mom, have you seen my 13-year-old photos? My nickname was Goalpost Gretchen because of my 2 front teeth. I had braces twice. I've struggled with my weight my entire life, but really specifically as a young person. I wasn't playing with dolls or thinking about putting makeup on.
Really?
I loved playing army and football outside with my brothers and neighbors. I was a tomboy growing up, like, Mom, what is wrong with you?
We're taught categories. You're either pretty or you're smart, you're in the arts or you're in science, you're musically talented, so that means you're not likely to be athletic. These are false categories. And I think people like Gretchen Carlson make clear that they don't have to be boxed in.
I never watched pageants. This was not something that was on my radar screen at all. But my mom's an incredibly convincing person. She was like, you're smart. It's all about interview and talent. And she said, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. But I believed her.
I wouldn't have helped her if I didn't think she had a very, very good chance to win. At that time, talent was worth 50%, and I was certain no one could touch her talent. The swimsuit, of course, was, that was a riot. We had a room in the basement with some equipment. I've never seen anyone work quite so hard.
After caving to her parents' persuasion, Gretchen made it her mission to become the best possible contestant, and shocked even herself when she won Miss Minnesota. But the real challenge was still ahead, with their national debut in the Miss America pageant.
You know, there were a lot of supposed strikes against me. I'm from a state, Minnesota, that isn't typically known as a pageant state. And I play classical violin, and that's never won. But in the end, winning was who could keep it together mentally. I learned that through being a competitive violinist. Everyone could play the notes for the most part. Competition in the end is determination, discipline, practice, tunnel vision in your mental capacity to be able to accomplish something like that. Very similar to Miss America.
So now, we announce our first runner-up, Maya Walker, Miss Colorado. Miss America is Gretchen Carlson, Miss Minnesota.
Grit. I have found this quality to be the common denominator of great achievers in every domain that I've studied, from jazz musicians and CEOs and quarterbacks. They all have this one characteristic in common, the kind of love and hard work that defines grit.
The Miss America experience really catapulted me into being interested in television because on a daily basis I was doing television and radio interviews. But I've always sort of been underestimated, and a lot of that has to do with this.
Blonde hair.
Mm-hmm. On the first day when I came to my press conference, a female reporter dubbed me the smart Miss America. So she tried to make me look stupid. She asked me who's on the $10 bill, who's on the $100 bill, what year did the Vietnam War end, have you ever done drugs, and have you ever had sex? Just to demoralize me.
What is real on you and what isn't real?
Everything on me is real.
Your hair's that natural color?
Except for a few highlights.
Have you had sex yet, or are you waiting to get married?
No comment on that.
People suddenly just didn't like me just because. I remember I called my mom. I was like, Mom, what's going on? And my dad, whom everyone loves, said to me, Gretchen, no matter how hard you try, you're never going to get everyone to like you. And that advice is something I think about every single day. The real thing, though, was being on an old television show with Dick Clark and Ed McMahon called Bloopers and Practical Jokes. I had to do a 14-minute monologue about a satellite system. You should look at the videotape if you want a good laugh.
I'll be right back. How much time do we have?
We've got about 2 minutes.
Now remember,
4,
she knows absolutely
3,
nothing about
2.
the system.
Hi, I'm glad to be back with you this morning. I'm Gretchen Carlson, the new Miss America. This multi-sync integrated satellite system.
Now, this cue card is upside down. She's reading it anyway, Ed. She's amazing.
Gretchen's doing too well, so here's a little more trouble.
Above the operating frequency.
It was the most painful experience of my life. I was thinking, they're going to fire me as Miss America because I'm doing such a horrible job. But after it aired, I had TV agents call me and say, if you can do that, you can do TV.
Gretchen's focus and raw talent were quickly rewarded with their first TV gig at a local news affiliate, WRIC in Richmond. But once there, she would immediately be introduced to the realities of being a woman in a male-dominated industry.
I, unfortunately, was sexually harassed on the job about a month later.
So from your very first job?
Mm-hmm. I was in a rural part of the state with my cameraman. He started asking me about how much I had enjoyed it when he had touched my breasts with the microphone. And it went downhill from there.
And so what did you do when that happened?
Panicked. I was new in the business. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm with some guy I don't know. And I actually envisioned rolling out of the car, wondering how much that would hurt if I do that, because I was so panicked to try and get away.
One way of thinking about the workplace in today's world for women is as a psychological battleground. One of the things that often female employees report is that they start wondering, whether or not they have done something to possibly invite this kind of experience. Am I going to be perceived in a negative light, or am I limiting my career options if I end up saying something and not wanting this to happen anymore?
When I got back to the station, I was just shaking. When women go through this, it's this horrifying experience because your entire self-confidence just drains out of you.
She was quite upset by that.
You could just quit. But that's what you would call resilience, to keep coming back.
Following that encounter, Gretchen persevered, moving around the country in pursuit of her ultimate goal, an anchor position on a major network.
Cleveland winters are actually very sad for thousands of people.
Gretchen Carlson, NBC5, Dallas.
As her exposure grew, network executives took notice.
When I saw Gretchen on camera, I immediately said, oh boy, this is a winner. I mean, she pops off the screen. This was someone that we wanted to pursue. She had gone from a smaller market to bigger and bigger and bigger markets, and it wasn't long before we did have an opening.
Coming up next, advice on what to do if a kid is a little too computer savvy. You're watching the Saturday Early Show on CBS.
She was with us about 5 years. She had been co-anchor of the Saturday Early Show, which she was great at. The show got good ratings, but Gretchen wanted more. She wanted to work on the Monday through Friday broadcast, but we had anchors on that show. So I just couldn't give her what she wanted at the point when she wanted it.
She worked very hard and long to get to network news. So when she got the job for Fox and Friends, that was a big deal for her.
In 2006, Gretchen finally landed the job she'd been waiting for, a permanent position on a nationally broadcast morning show.
Fox News alert for you now, because top Democrats in the Senate breaking ranks with the president.
But despite being on a major cable news show, Gretchen still faced prejudice based on her gender and her appearance.
I reached the bimbo trifecta when I got to Fox. Natural blonde, strike one. Former Miss America, strike two. And then I came to Fox News. Uh-oh. The thing is, I developed a really thick skin early on after being Miss America because that same exact thing happened. To be treated in that way was the biggest disappointment for me after that experience. And so when I got to Fox and then it really ramped up, it was almost like my resume evaporated.
Would you like to correct yourself on that other talking point about men being dominant?
Oh, we don't have any time. I wish I did. We're running over.
Okay, because HR's on the phone because you called me a skirt.
Part of the challenge for a woman like Gretchen Carlson in the position that she's in is, do I really speak up? Do I really say something when I'm being stereotyped as a woman who doesn't know much or a woman who's just a sexual object? Or do I really say, I'm here and I'm well qualified to be here and I've worked hard to be here and you're not going to treat me like that?
Women are everywhere. We're letting them play golf and tennis now. It's out of control.
You know what? You read the headlines since men are so great.
Over the course of a decade at Fox News, Gretchen experienced many forms of sexual harassment, including squarely from the man at the very top, CEO Roger Ailes.
While at Fox, was she confiding in you the patterns of sexual harassment?
Yes, I knew everything. But I don't think anyone still knows the whole story completely. And no one maybe will, because some of it will never be spoken about. For anyone to work in that kind of a workplace and feel like they can't speak up isn't good. This went on for years. Kept getting worse and worse.
When the harassment from Ailes had reached its breaking point, she began to explore her legal options.
When Gretchen first came to me, I listened carefully. I found her to be entirely credible, and I felt that the way to do my very best for Gretchen was to associate with one of the very best, Nancy Erica Smith.
I don't watch Fox News, so I didn't know who Gretchen was, honestly. But when I met Gretchen, I saw a woman like women I have seen for 38 years, a very hurt, scared woman who had been abused by a man in the workplace and had incredible evidence of it.
So you realize that there are people who will be critical of you. You were one of the faces of Fox News for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
You helped build them up. What do you say?
Well, all I ever wanted to do was work hard and have a great career. And every person can get caught up in cult-like behavior. After 25 years in the television business, when they told me that my career was going to end for me at least there and it wasn't my choice, I decided if I don't do something about this, who will?
Well, at first, I really wasn't in favor of it.
We were more concerned for her safety because of the power of the people involved. Who knows what might happen?
I can still see where I was sitting when my parents called me together. And it was a very emotional call where they told me that they would support me no matter what. I finally had to stand up for what was right and the truth. Still, when you're on that edge of the cliff and you're about to dive, it's the toughest decision of your life.
In 2016, Gretchen was fired from Fox News. And though the official reason given was dwindling ratings, Gretchen fought back, claiming not only that he had sexually harassed her, but that she was wrongfully fired for refusing his advances.
When Gretchen Carlson sued Ailes, she engaged in what might be the riskiest legal battle I personally have ever seen. Roger Ailes wielded tyrannical power within the Fox News Corporation. And so to push back against that, especially in the legal arena, really invited a lot of risk to Gretchen Carlson personally. There's no doubt she put her entire career on the line.
First few days felt like a lifetime. When you do something like this, you have no idea what's going to happen in the next minute, much less the next hour or the next day.
And so how did you feel about the folks who you probably thought of as friends, as colleagues, who were either openly or quietly critical?
I can't really share with you my feelings about that, but I think that you find out who your friends are.
I told her from the very beginning, Fox would challenge her credibility. That was David versus Goliath.
We knew what Ailes was capable of in terms of the media. We knew what happened when Andrea Macris sued Bill O'Reilly, and she was brutalized in the press and called a slut, a drunk. It was just all-out war. But we prepared ourselves. We upped all our security, protected all our emails. We were ready for it.
I knew Roger Ailes. He helped elect presidents. They wouldn't think twice about flicking somebody away like a flea. And to take that guy on took courage that few people would have. She was alone. This wasn't a class action suit. This was her by herself.
In a pre-Me Too era, the chances of Gretchen succeeding were slim. But her willingness to carry this burden alone sent a thunderous message to the world. She would soon realize that she wasn't alone at all.
Shortly after we filed, her courage made other victims of Roger Ailes come forward. It stopped being he said, she said, and started being he said, she said, she said, she said, she said, she said. We got to 24.
That's when I said, this is a watershed moment. She brought down the most powerful man in TV news. In 2 weeks, Roger Ailes was gone from that network. It was beyond my wildest expectations that this could possibly happen.
In July of 2016, Ailes resigned, and within weeks, Gretchen was awarded one of the largest sexual harassment settlements in history. But money wasn't her only reward.
Gretchen and I insisted on an apology from Fox. We would not settle without it. We made that clear from day one. Because women are called sluts and nuts when they complain about sexual harassers. And they're called liars, even by the current president of the United States. So an apology meant a lot, not only to Gretchen, but to all women.
And then the dominoes started to fall.
Gretchen's suit not only forced Ailes out of power, but it opened the door for women everywhere to confront their own harassment and shake up the entire media industry.
Yes, the revelations have been horrific, but I think it has been so amazing to watch this gift of courage being given to one woman at a time. A gift of courage is contagious, and we're seeing it now multiply like we never thought.
Once my story went public, I heard from thousands of other women across this great country. And then the floodgates opened. And from Harvey Weinstein to Eric Schneiderman, the walls are coming tumbling down.
For those of us who believe that there should be more change on this, what else would you love to see happen? Where do you think it goes from here?
Well, I set up the Gretchen Carlson Leadership Initiative, which allows underserved women to learn about sexual harassment and how they can get help. Because unfortunately, the way that we've decided to resolve sexual harassment cases in America, silence women. Either with settlements, which I have, meaning I can't tell you the details, or in arbitration clauses where most of these cases go to, and it's a secret chamber. And the women can never tell you what happened. So as a society, we think we've solved this problem because we don't hear about these cases. But that's why we're not hearing about them.
In December, I was proud to join congressional Republican and Democrat for a bipartisan introduction of a bill which makes arbitration optional, a choice for women in sexual harassment claims.
At the same time, now I am executive chair of the Miss America organization. I have a lot of fantastic ideas to really bring it up to speed.
Not everyone agrees with Gretchen's changes to the competition, and her leadership courted controversy, but she presses on. She's also taken her mission to D.C., where she's fighting to free all women from the arbitration laws that keep their battles from ever seeing the inside of a courtroom.
It's easier today to come forward and say, me too, and if I had anything to do with that, then I feel blessed.
I was asked recently if I felt that the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement had actually peaked. My answer is a resounding no. We're just getting started.
When you become so known in pop culture, it's a backwards way establishing your career.
My very first appointment with Saks, they canceled.
His response was, I'm gonna make everything happen regardless.
This is where everything comes together.
Christian made very savvy collaborations.
I'll make one thing and that inspires 5 other things.
I'm not a huge believer in revenge, but 10 years later, we were covering the same event. I was now a reporter in New York City, so I decided, should I go up and say something? And then I said, yep. So when I was done, I marched over her and I said, hi, Penny. I said, I'm Gretchen Carlson. You probably don't remember me at all, but when I was Miss America, you tried to take me down. And I just want to let you know that I'm a correspondent now for CBS News, and you're not.
What'd she say?
I don't know. I turned around and marched away as fast as I could.
Breaking Big is available on DVD. To order, visit shop.pbs.org or call 1-800-PLAY-PBS. This program is also available on iTunes. Funding for Breaking Big provided in part by the Ford Foundation, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to this PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.